Tom Kozlowski here with you on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. And joining us on the phone lines, he's a former defensive back in the NFL. You can now see him as an analyst for different outlets across the country, including CBS Sports, NFL Network, and Sirius Radio. Solomon Wilcots joins us. And Solomon, we haven't had a chance to speak since the NFL draft. You were drafted in 1987. What's the best advice you can give rookies entering the NFL?
Well, as hard as it took for them to get here, it's going to take even much harder work, much more determination to stay here. That's the National Football League. As you well know, the average NFL career is about 3.5 years. That means many of these rookies won't survive enough to see a second contract in the National Football League. Most rookie contracts are for 4 years. If you're a first-round pick, they have the option to pick up your fifth year. You got to earn that second contract. And so, you got to really put in a lot of work, and it really is about what Vince Lombardi said. 90% of the game is from the neck up. If you're smart, you have a high level of football intelligence, and the coaches don't have to tell you twice before you get it right, you stand a good chance of sticking around.
And that goes for things on the field. How about off the field? You touch about the contract situation. How important is it for these guys to figure out someone who can manage their money and they're not out spending it on every single house and every single car? Well,
the NFL, more now than ever, has so many programs to help with financial education, social awareness, how to handle media, including social media. There's a lot of continuing education that goes on for players, not just on the field, but off the field, to help them to be able to develop and be able to create a sense of independence socially, economically, financially, as well as professionally. So there's no reason for getting it wrong, but we all know that life happens, whether you're in the NFL or any other career. When you run into great success at an early age, there's going to be a learning curve.
Solomon Wilcots from CBS Sports joins us here on the phone lines on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com. The top two picks in this year's NFL draft, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, both franchises. The Rams and Eagles trade up to get these guys. Can you see these two maybe being 10-year pros in the NFL?
Only if they're giving the adequate amount of time to grow and learn and develop. It's hard to step in right away. What that means is you're going to experience some failure. And then sometimes it might be catastrophic failure. Very few players can overcome having tremendous failure, have a blow to the ego and to their confidence, and come out of that tailspin. For all the criticism that Alex Smith, the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, takes, he has survived it. His early years in San Francisco was anything but pretty. But yet he has survived. He's still around, and he's playing for a winning football team. Steve Young is one of those quarterbacks I always point to. Early in his career, he had hit rock bottom in Tampa, and it took a reclamation project, time on the bench behind Joe Montana in San Francisco under the tutelage of Bill Walsh for him to come out of it and become a Hall of Famer. I think it really, most coaches would rather see it happen the way it happened for Aaron Rodgers. Behind a great pro like Brett Favre and a great system like the Green Bay Packers have, time to grow, learn, and develop, and then assume to that position when you're ready. And then you can hit the ground running and have a great career. That's the ideal way of doing it. Doesn't always work out that way.
In any other draft, a quarterback drafted out of North Dakota State would have stolen the headlines and been the talk of the draft, but instead it's Ole Miss offensive lineman Laremy Tunsil. If you can think back, can you remember any draft day moment that was so bizarre and as weird as what had happened with the offensive lineman Tunsil?
Nothing as graphic. We actually had pictures to document what the rumors were. I do know in drafts before, rumors have circulated about, say, a Warren Sapp that allowed him to plummet down the draft board. He still went on to become a Hall of Fame player. The same happened to Randy Moss, where several teams, including the Dallas Cowboys, passed on him. He fell down the draft board to the Minnesota Vikings, and there's no doubt in my mind he's going to become a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. So Laremy Tunsil still has all the opportunities out in front of him, but you're right. This one was more graphic. We had visuals to back up the rumors that were being circulated. We woke up that morning, and all you had to do was look on social media, and the pictures were right there, and you knew that it would have some devastating consequences.
Tom Gozlowski with you here on 104.5 The Team and 104.5theteam.com, and on the phone line, CBS Sports is Solomon Wilcots. And right here, 104.5 The Team is your home for the New York Jets in the Capital Region. And Solomon, Jets fans here in Albany are getting sick and tired of hearing the same story about Ryan Fitzpatrick and his contract situation. Any idea when Fitzpatrick will finally sign the deal and start getting on the field for the Jets?
I think whenever they agree. I think he's kind of made up his mind that he knows what he wants. I don't think he's asking for way too much. I think the Jets have room to wiggle. I think they have room, not necessarily more money, but I think they could end up offering him a one-year deal. Fitzpatrick has already said that he's willing to take the one-year deal, somewhere around $9 or $12 million. I think that's probably what you're going to see happen. I think they're going to meet in the middle. You and I both know that it is a drop-off. You can say what you want in criticizing Ryan Fitzpatrick, but there's a drop-off from where he is, or at least the season he had last year, or where the next quarterback on that roster, whether it's Geno Smith, Bryce Petty, or Christian Hackenberg. You'd rather have the quarterback who's got some pelts on the wall and one that has good chemistry with their current receiving tandem in Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker.
Jets fans are sick of that story. It seems like all NFL fans are sick and tired of hearing about Deflategate, but it will not go away. We haven't spoken since the last suspension, the last ruling had come down involving Tom Brady, suspended for the first 4 games of the 2016 NFL season. Did the NFL get this right? Was this the right call?
Well, I mean, when you say what was the right call, that's you and I know it's a loaded question. Mm-hmm. There's no way in my mind, I don't think anyone proved that Tom Brady let air out of footballs. I don't think in any way, shape, or form that the science of it shows that he would benefit from such a thing. The science does show that it would benefit running backs from fumbling, but no one is accusing the running backs of having concocted some plot to let air out of footballs. You and I both know if the ball's got less air in it, it doesn't travel nearly as far, okay? But you could squeeze it on a cold day, and it wouldn't fumble. So if this stuff gets so far out into the weeds, it damages our game, it hurts our sport, it tarnishes what is a great career. You think about Tom Brady and all that he's earned. He's earned everything he's gotten in this league. He didn't come in, touted as some first-round pick, 6th-round pick. Everyone shunned him multiple times, and then he's made this great career. He's a clutch player. He didn't get here by cheating. I don't think anyone would even argue that. I don't think anyone would even try to argue that. And so this thing is, to me, it just reeks of all the bad things that happen at corporate level of big business, and ultimately it's always the individual who suffers, not the many people who are playing chess at the top.
All right, we'll get away from the bad things off the field. We'll work on the great things off the field, and especially one thing you're working on is your campaign to continue to spread awareness about the fight against Alzheimer's. Yeah,
we started up our Huddle Up campaign to create greater awareness for Alzheimer's and the new treatments that are being currently developed. We kicked off the campaign at Super Bowl 50 in San Francisco, and we've been very fortunate with many of our investigators like Dr. Richard Hollop in the Albany, New York area, who is hosting basically memory screenings, really trying to help the community, particularly those who are suffering from this dreaded disease of Alzheimer's. Roughly 5 million Americans suffer from Alzheimer's. That number is expected to triple by the year 2050. We want to do something about it. Dr. Richard Hollop and his office of neurology, I should say, are working to really try to help curtail the onset of the Alzheimer's disease. So we've been in more than half dozen cities, whether San Francisco, Miami, Cincinnati, Portland, Los Angeles, Toronto, and Boston, to hold these memory screenings and try to help create greater awareness for Alzheimer's treatment.
And if you're on social media, continue to use the hashtag HuddleUpAD and hashtag EndALZ. Spread the awareness. Do whatever you can here in the Capital Region to help fight this disease. Solomon Wilcots, he works for CBS Sports. We'll hopefully talk to him again soon. Solomon, thank you so much for taking the time, man.
Well, thank you for having us, and I'm getting ready for NFL football. It's going to be a great 2016 season.